Let's move on to the nitty-gritty about who should be selected for the next game. And we're going to specifically focus on midfield and Yves Bissouma. For me, Yves Bissouma has been shocking, to be honest, since that sending off at Luton. We'll start off with you, Brian. Do you think Bissouma should be dropped for the next game?
In the grand scheme of things, no. But I can see now why this is heavily becoming a discussion. I looked at it after Luton. He had his game. We can all agree that Luton was a stupid thing that he did. The second yellow card, it was ridiculous. Then we knew he was one yellow card away, and I thought once he'd had that ban against Villa, I thought right, he'll come back. There's no bookings hanging over him. He'll be back to being able to be a bit freer and do what he does. And against Man City, let's call it as it is. It was very, very poor.
Yeah,
it was a poor performance. A lot of people, and I can see where they're saying when he gave the ball away for the third goal, you look at the way Ange wants to play football. If he had managed to get past that player, we were clean through. We were through, and they're trying to do what Ange wants them to do. But there are other passes there available. I don't think he doesn't look the same without Maddison and Sarr. I think that trilogy just had a bit of everything. They complemented everything in every department. And since that Luton game, I don't think they've played together, have they? Because Maddison picked up his injury. Bissouma was out. I don't think they've had a game, the three of them together. I don't know if Sarr's back. I don't know if he's back for West Ham or if he's back for Newcastle.
They played at Palace together after that.
Okay. So, and we won that game. That shows how pivotal and how good that three is. I just think it goes to show. We were saying that Bissouma was good for Sarr. Maybe it's Sarr that's good for Bissouma. Bissouma is a wonderful, wonderful player. But when it comes to dropping him, it's like, if you drop him now, are you rocking his confidence more?
But is that the mentality that we want at this football club? And is that why we've got competition for places? Højbjerg's there. He's stepping in really well every time that he does play. So what message does that say to Højbjerg if a player's not playing well and then he can't come in and take his spot for at least a game or two?
Well, the thing is as well, what you got to remember, I'm looking at it this way as well. At the moment, Højbjerg, we need to listen. That man, as we all know, doesn't get injured. You can take a chainsaw to his leg; he'll play the next day with that man. But with Bissouma and Sarr going, and Bentancur now out, keeping Højbjerg fit for January is pivotal. I've started thinking literally. Rather, we said with Ange game by game, which is what we got to do and take it. But right now, with the midfield, with the injuries we have. Surely he's got to now start keeping one. Ange, this is start thinking right in January. I know I haven't got Maddison and I haven't got Sarr and I haven't got Bissouma. He's have to wrap the Celso in cotton wool. Does he have one eye on that and say, right, Bissouma, I'm going to keep playing you and hopefully you get out of this funk because I can't risk another midfield injury.
Yeah, that's a good point. But Jacob, what's your take on the Bissouma situation? Do you keep persisting with him or is it time for him maybe to come out the team for a game?
I think Yves Bissouma, if you look at the character of who he is the kind of guy who will be the hardest on himself. He doesn't need Ange Postecoglou, Antonio Conte, anybody playing Big Daddy to him. He don't need that. He's the kind of guy who will go out there and put this on himself. If you look at him after the match, Heung-min Son, I love the beautiful clip of our amazing captain going out there, putting his arm. Again, a captain doesn't have to lead. Just because he doesn't look and act like Roy Keane doesn't mean he can't be a leader, first and foremost. So
Agreed.
After the match, you got Yves Bissouma with his hood up, arms in pocket, slumped shoulders. He's very upset with himself, and he should be. Awful performance. Worst performance, I would say. I don't even know if it was worse than his debut versus West Ham with Conte. This was his worst for sure under Ange Postecoglou. But I don't think it's... to me, I agree. The Luton sending off was very dumb, very stupid. But Crystal Palace, I thought he's responded well. And then he was like not himself in the next two games. But being not yourself doesn't mean that now you're a bad player. Now he's lost it or now he's somehow fumbled the ball. For me, I just think he had a very bad game. He's going to be the hardest on himself, and there's no reason to take the blanket off him, in my opinion. Let him keep doing his thing. Tell him, you did wrong. No need to rub his nose in it. The dog knows he did bad, so go out there. He's not a bad boy anymore. He has a dumb yellow in him, and that's, I think, the biggest gripe that we need to try and work out of his game, because that is what's holding us back. It has hurt us in 2 matches now because of his dumb yellow accumulations. I mean, technically, Luton was double yellow. So I just think that you give him another start. You say, look, this is West Ham. This is your chance. If not, we have a short turnaround. Makes more sense that we start another midfielder in your position if you were unable to do the job versus West Ham. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's one more chance saloon either, or last chance saloon, whatever they like to say. I don't think it's that either. I think it's just a matter of this guy's low on confidence, a little rusty. We saw the first half, his passes going out of bounds, passes going to nobody, passes going to Manchester City. I think he's just a guy, he's got to respond. And how do you respond? You have to have an opportunity to respond. And I think I would give him that at least. I think he's put enough money in the bank with the first 8 to 10 matches where he's getting back-to-back man of the matches. I'm going on public streams talking about Declan who. I got Yves Bissouma. I don't need to talk about no basmati rice. And this is just so for me, I give him another chance. I'm not saying he's done yet either. But maybe it is Papa Matisar. Maybe it is the movement of everything being an accumulation to where he's at mentally with where himself and his own mistakes. So I still trust the guy. I still think he's a baller.
But you know, like dropping a player doesn't mean you're dropping him for good, right? It's just coming out the team for a couple of games. You've got adequate replacements in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who I think is stepping in admirably well in every game he's playing in at the moment. But Sim, what's your take on it?
I'm a bit conflicted because I understand not the opinion that Bissouma should probably come out just because of the form he's in. I did think in general he was quite poor against Man City, but what I would say is in the second half I did think he improved quite a bit from that first half performance, and then all his kind of good work kind of got undone with that mistake he made for the third goal. But I think Brian makes a good point when he talks about that moment, because I think being brave on the ball and kind of trying, not taking stupid risks, which maybe you could argue what he did, but having the confidence to try something in that kind of position and backing yourself in those positions is what Ange truly wants. I think that's exactly what he calls his players to do, and he knows that these players will be taking risks, and he knows that these players can sometimes make mistakes in those positions. That's exactly what happened against Man City, and in the end of the day, it cost us a goal. But I don't think Ange goes into the dressing room after that mistake and goes to him, you bollocks him basically, and says you shouldn't have done that. Why you just pass it simply? I think he says, look, you tried something, didn't come off, and the next time it will. I know you've got the quality to pull it off more often than not, and we showed that this season how good he can be from those side positions. So I think he's gonna, in a weird way, I think I wouldn't say he's sending a message, but I think he will keep with Bissouma for the next game. I think he's going to want to. I don't think he's going to want to send a message that, like, in a weird, because if he drops him off the back of that, does he send the message saying, look, if you try something doesn't come off, you make a mistake, you're coming out the team?
But I don't think it's just off the back of that mistake, though, is it? Because it's a string of poor performances from Bissouma now. And
but that's also true. That is also true.
I don't think it's that action was obviously a poor action, but I get Brian's point, I get your point, and I completely agree with you guys. As much as I had a difference of opinion maybe a day ago or 2 days ago, we need to be trying those things, and many times we tried those things against Man City and they did come off, and we were much better for it, and the space started to open up for us massively. So I don't have a problem in that action completely, but I have a problem with the string of bad performances. That's what I have a problem with, and I felt like in the first half he was hiding in that game. Passes were all over the shop, and I don't think the performance was up to the required standard, and I don't think they have been pretty much probably since the Liverpool game, to be honest. I think is his last really good game in a Spurs shirt, in my opinion. And for that, I think because of a string of poor performances, you've got a player like Højbjerg who keeps coming in and keeps playing really well. We know he can do the job.
Yeah, but against Wolves, he was bad. You know what I mean?
Against Wolves, he was bad, as was the whole team.
Yeah,
and the system.
45 minutes of Højbjerg is a lot better than 90 minutes of Højbjerg. I'll put it that way. And there's no reason that we can't start Bissouma and Højbjerg together, because Højbjerg will help Bissouma in the mistake making. Again, the area in which Yves Bissouma was making mistakes, Højbjerg would occupy a lot of those areas where those errant passes were going and where he was, turning the ball over. And also, I want to just caveat, I think with Yves Bissouma, it was a horrible first 45. But when he came out at the second half, I thought for 20, 25 minutes, he was really building something. He was really starting to improve, because I remember thinking to myself while I was watching, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to have to speak on Yves Bissouma second half. He really kind of started saying, oh, look at Bernardo Silva. That's how a midfielder kind of runs this midfield. Let me start trying to work in that light. And That's what my impression was. And literally, as soon as I had that thought, bang, he gave the ball over, trying to nutmeg Rodri. You don't try to nutmeg Rodri. But at the same time, I love what you said there, Sim, because Ange Postecoglou will reward someone for trying. He said the same thing at halftime, which is, this is on me. Go out there and play your way.
Yeah.
Go out there, play football, have fun, play your style, and
Don't
anything
think
bad
too
that
much.
happens, it's my fault. And
Yeah.
and that, I don't think he was thinking in that moment, Yves, because if you think about it, any man would be like, maybe I don't try and nutmeg Rodri. That's Rodri of all people. So for me, I don't blame him too much. He was starting to come good, and then he made a big mistake. So it was a bad game, topped off with a big mistake. I think he'll still be able to come good. And there's no reason Højbjerg shouldn't also be rewarded for his good performances as well. But I will say Højbjerg does look better in 45 minutes, 60 minutes than he does in a full 90, in my opinion.
Correct. Unfortunately, correct.
I don't think there's space though against West Ham in the team for both of them to start, in my opinion. I don't, and I think that Kulusevski. I think Kulusevski and Roya and Lo Celso have to start in the middle on the back of their two performances the last two games. And Richarlison, I mean, we'll get on to Richarlison in a minute, but I think it's got to be Richarlison or Brian Hill on the left, and either Bissouma or Højbjerg in the number 6. So
Yeah,
it's just
I
which
would
one.
do.
It's
That's
got
what I
to be
would do.
which one you go for, Bissouma or Højbjerg, in my opinion.
For me, I think I don't start Brian Hill again. I think Brian Hill off the bench, let him do his techies on tired legs. I say, don't let him start. We saw what he does against a very good Premier League side. He's got talent. I'm not trying to bash on the kid. He made the move for the first goal. He did a nice little pirouette on the ball, nice little spin looking like a croissant, and then he got Kulusevski. Kulusevski found Son, and that was it. But then after that, I was like, what else did he really offer me? I think in moments Brian Hill can have greatness, but I don't think he's great overall, at least at this level right now. I think I would still start Brennan Johnson on the. This is just me personally, but what I think Postecoglou would do is go Kulu on the right, Brennan Johnson on the left. I personally like Kulu in the middle as well, because I think that a collateral effect puts Brennan Johnson on the right wing, which is where he's more comfortable, which is where he sees more joy. But what I think Postecoglou would do versus West Ham, this is just my interpretation, is he's going to put Brennan Johnson on the left, Son down the middle, and Kulusevski on the right, and in that midfield really jam-pack it with Bissouma, Højbjerg, and Lo Celso. Let Lo Celso be the advanced playmaker. We saw him occupy more areas than James Maddison did in a similar role, so I think that he would defensively do more work and not be as offensively minded. I still think we can jam-pack that midfield versus West Ham. I'm not concerned with them overrunning us in that regard. Højbjerg, Bissouma, and Giovanni Lo Celso doesn't sound like the worst midfield we could put out there.
I just feel like we just have so much more creativity coming from that middle of the park if Kulusevski, and we have the dual threat of Kulusevski and Lo Celso in the middle. But that's just me. But anyway,
I do love Kulusevski in that role. I agree with you there. I think he flourishes more because all the things that make him great as a winger, he can do from in there as well. Hold up the ball well, back to the goal, find an intricate pass. I think he can do all that as well.
And he gets more options as well because he's central. He's got options to his right and his left. I feel like when he's on the right, he only has his options a bit more limited.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's looked incredible in the central position. I think that's got to be, in the long run, we've got to try and find a place for Kulu in there. I think he is so much more effective and offers so much more. You've seen when he's gone onto the right, and I said it when I came on the post-match show with you, Ben, there was a couple of times where he was in the exact same position where he set Kane up for the winner when we were there, and rather than crossing it in, he just doubted himself, or he's thinking there isn't a Harry Kane type header of the ball coming into the box. But when you see him in the centre, I think against Villa, he was devastating in the first half.
Yeah.
And he looked very, very good against City in the central. I think.
And obviously, sorry,
Go on,
Brian.
Ben.
No, I was just saying, and obviously when he moved there against Sheffield United as well in the last stage of the game.
Exactly. I think that we've got to find a way to incorporate him as much as we can in that middle.
Yeah, I completely agree.